Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechViewsNope, and today we are going to get into another Python tutorial, and this one's going to get a little bit more into variables, basically what I got up on the screen right now, and I'm going to give you a little bit more fine detailed, especially the math portion of it. Now, as far as that goes, if you hadn't seen the previous videos, check for the card towards the top. And if you just want to skip ahead, then feel free to do so, and the card will be towards the top. If that card's not showing, then feel free to keep in mind that these videos come out once to twice a week, depending on my personal schedule, and feel free to wait around for that. But anyways, as far as this goes, we're going to get into variables. We got into it a while back, but now I want to get into the math side of things. So as we know the variable for most of this is going to be on the left side. So like, for example, this birth year is the variable, then it equals to an integer, which is 1987 or whatever you put in there. Now, with that, later on, we're going to get a little bit more advanced into this stuff. I'm going to try to make a application that you put in your month and day, and it looks at the current month and day, and it bases on that, because I'm actually 28 and not 29, because the month and day has not passed. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in a later video when we're making an actual application. But for this instance, it's good enough to show you the math behind it. So right here, basically what I'm doing is defining the value for birth year, the variable for that, and current year, the variable for that. Now, with that, if we subtract, so right here, if we subtract birth year from current year, we get a negative. And if we subtract current year from birth year, then we get a positive 29. So you can actually subtract variables from each other, times, divide, and all the other stuff. And the other example I got down here is A equals 1, B equals 2, and then A plus B equals C, and then it says C equals 3, since 1 plus 2 equals 3, and it says C is that value. Then when I ask for what is the value of C, it gives me 3. Then if I want to manually delete C, then I can do a DELC, and it deletes the value for C. And then if I try to ask for what is C again, it will say it's not defined. But because these still have their value, I figured B divided by A shows you a 2. So because 1 divided by 2 equals 2. But the thing to notice is it's a float. Divisions always show floats. And B times A equals 2. And again, 1 times 2 equals 2. But notice that that's not a float. So that's one thing to note. The older Python, the float wasn't there. The newer ones, for a little while now, that's been there. So that's one thing to note. Now, we got floats, basically decimal, not non-whole numbers. So we can actually add floats, and we can see the that we're going to get a exact number, a number that we can understand. However, sometimes this seems like it messes up, but it really doesn't. Without getting too much detail into this, if we do like a 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 equals 0.3, then subtract that to 0.3, it should equal to 0. Well, we get this entire long number, but notice that this at the end, if we round it off, it will turn to 0. Basically, it's just a fancy way of saying 0 or whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into that because I don't know how deep we're going to get into that in the future, and it might be overload. But if we go down more and go to 5.9, a decimal, and we'll just ask for the integer, we'll get 5. If we ask to round it up, then we will get 6 because it'll just round up 1. And let's do a float 5.9, and it'll give us the float for 5.9. So the thing to note with Python is it uses PEMDAS, and for those of you who are not familiar, either you live in a country that doesn't teach math or doesn't really do basic math type of stuff, basically it uses the same math principles as what we use. And I'll leave a link below to a site like this, if not exactly this, and this will get you a good understanding. This is like basic math. But again, I know some places, since it's an international channel, some places don't really teach math at all. In fact, some places don't even have good schools at all. So it's worthwhile to note this. But basically, the thing to note from this, try to pull up the PEMDAS thing, is it uses the parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. Then it goes into addition and subtraction, and it goes from left to right. So anything in a parenthesis, it will do first. So as we see here, this is in a parenthesis, so it's going to add that, and then if we got multiplication afterwards, then it's going to just multiply that. So that's the thing to note. So for example, with this, basically 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4. So it's a pretty straightforward equation. And then here what we have is, since remember the PEMDAS, we got 1 times 2 equals 2, since 1 times whatever equals whatever. Then we got plus 1 equals 3, so it's 2 plus 1 equals 3. So that's where the order of operations really comes in play. Again, it's called PEMDAS for those of you who are in foreign territories. Again, float value, as I said before. It's a fairly straightforward thing, and there is different types of math within Python, but what you're going to see most often is the basic algebra. But the one thing to keep in mind is this is actually very useful because, like in other languages, you can actually do addition with the variables and a few other things. So basically, what you'll see in math class, in fact, this is a pretty good example. What you see in math class, and that almost has no relevant in the world besides here, which is amazingly enough. The where you get A represents a number, B represents a number, and A plus B equals 3 in this case. So you'll get that in algebra. So all of this is basic algebra, and you don't really need to know math. Depending on the application is dependent on how true that was, but overall you really don't need to know math. It's just you're basically using Python as a calculator for the most part. You just need to know what to put in. Like I said before, with the coding and stuff, it's less about of being a master of the skill. It's more about knowing what to search on Google. Well, the same thing here. The math, you don't need to know all in your head, or you don't need to know a lot of this stuff. You just need to know, should you put addition, subtraction, division, and the PEMDAS. That's a big thing. But yeah. But anyways, this has been Craig Bennett. Found an honor to take views up. And if you do have any questions on this, And feel free to leave that down there in the comment section, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. Leave a like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.